So I'm doing something crazy. Working on a tarot deck, 78 models, okay? Multiple photo shoots, multiple years. But it's going to be the best thing ever. Like, I'm really, truly determined for this tarot deck that we're working on to be the most iconic thing of the 21st century, to be quite honest, okay? Anyway, hello family, Jupiter's Juice family. My name is Ronnie, if you do not know. And I'm working on the tarot deck with my business partner, Lee. Q Lee. Here's a picture. I think you see it now. Okay. Boom. So we're back. So yes, we are working on a tarot deck, as many of our, community may know. We are, based out of the Atlanta area. And I kind of want to talk about the process. This is the behind the scenes, okay? So I'm here because I want to show you the behind the scenes of the creation of this deck. I am an astrologer, but I'm a creative director, photographer, recording artist at heart, and that's the first and foremost thing, okay? And so I am very passionate about this project and this journey, and I want to share with you why, I wanted to release something this big, astrologically, I have a strong Capricorn placements and strong Leo placements. So those two together, that Sun and that Saturn, okay, they expect a lot, and the Capricorn energy is definitely legacy energy, and I want to leave a legacy and I want to build something major. But the inspiration for this project stemmed from loss and tragedy. During the pandemic, I lost many family members, my grandmother, my uncle, my aunt, and then a couple of years later, my dad. And the year my dad passed away, that's when I started working on this deck. But the initial inspiration for this deck came from, after my aunt passed away, I went through a little bit of a spiritual awakening. I wouldn't even say a little bit, it was crazy. I think I actually talked about the story here on the YouTube channel, so you may want to check that out. But yeah, I just had this epiphany to come up with a tarot deck. But I was working on my first solo album at the time, and I was like, ooh, I want to release a tarot deck with an album. That was ambitious, but when I started thinking about it, while creating the album and also thinking about the tarot deck, not even creating, just thinking about it, I'm like, oh, this might be a little ambitious. This might be a little much. So instead of creating the deck, I paused that idea and I just released music. I released an album, and that was really cool. That was really awesome. Definitely loved that. But after my dad passed away in 2023, June of 2023, shortly after that, I realized, I was like, I really want to do something. I really want to create something that stands the test of time. And here we are. Okay. So in, I think, October, it was like later on in the year, like after summertime. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But around September, October, November, spring, summer, joggers of 2023, I had my first photo shoot. So at this point in time, Jupiter Juice did not exist. I didn't know Lee. I met Lee through the NFT space. If you don't know, look it up. It has to do with like crypto and all this stuff like that. But I met her online, and she ended up moving to Atlanta earlier in 2023, and I fell in love with her graphic work. And yeah, she's freaking amazing. And I reached out to her. I was like, hey, I want to create a tarot deck. I would love to have you be the graphic designer. I am a photographer outside of being a music artist, and I want to take photos of models, and they are the tarot deck, the tarot cards versus, it being drawn, because that was going to take eons. We weren't going to draw anything, like, no. So she was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm down. So the first shoot, which I'm going to show you guys, you're going to see clips throughout. The first shoot happened around that time. And really, it was just a girl and, people who, came to support her. So like the first round of shoots back in 2023, I really only had one big shoot. It was like 8 hours long. Some friends I had at the time, they had a studio space in the underground. The underground was offering, apprenticeships or like, I don't know, cohorts or something. I don't know. But like there were like some visual artists that were able to rent studio space or gallery space in the underground. And they were one of the people who rented the space, and they allowed me to rent that space for crazy cheap. I think like $200 for like 8 hours. I was like, hey, I got $200. I was like, okay, cool, pull up. And I did. And I didn't even make an announcement. I just reached out to people that I knew. I was like, hey girl, hey homie, can you pull up on me? I got this cool idea. I would like for you to be in a tarot deck. Are you cool with that? And I was like, hell yeah. And they pulled up on me. And that was a really cool thing. And it's like, dang, maybe I can do this, As time passed on, Lee and I grew closer. I consider her one of my best friends now. And, she basically, said like, you can't release this deck to nothing, to no one, to nobody. So we need to figure out how to build an audience. And to be quite honest, I was a bit apprehensive. Reason being is because prior to Jupiter Juice happening, I was in a music group, okay? And I have trauma around working with other people. And it's just trauma around just like dealing with manipulation, but also dealing with my own control issues as well. And so in wanting ownership of something, and I know one of the paths in my life, or like one of the opportunities that I have with a seventh house sun, is that I need to open up and trust people more. And so this whole journey with Lee and creating Jupiter Juice is a journey of trust. Not only for me to trust myself, for me to trust others, and also allow others to trust me, but she came up with the idea of, building an audience and creating Jupiter Juice. So we were on the phone, we were coming up with names and things like that. And we landed on Jupiter Juice because we both are ruled by Jupiter, and we both were born on Thursdays, and Thursday is ruled by Jupiter as well. So it just made freaking sense. And here we are, and we have so many people a part of our community. It's been a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so from there, Lee started, after I took the photos, Lee took the photos that I took and started designing the cards. Also, can we rethink the justice card?
Okay, so you like that?
I mean, not justice, judgment.
Yeah, I wasn't sold on that either.
I was like, we're gonna have to rethink that. And we would be on calls for a few hours, and we would go back and forth on ideas. I'm like, oh, I like this, don't like that, blah, 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 blah. We came up with the concept. But before we started on that, we had a mood board. So we started with this platform called Milanote. Of course, we use Pinterest and things like that. And this is how we came up with the mood board. And so the whole vibe of this deck is 70s music, art, fashion. Think Earth, Wind, and Fire. Think Donna Summer, Grace Jones, Diana Ross. Okay, so like just 70s culture, art culture, like just think Studio 54. So I just like the art, the passion, the sex appeal, the colorway, the heart, the spirituality of that era, and just how saturated and how just meaningful everything was back then. I feel like music really hit a peak in the 70s, and just creation in general. A lot of people experimented during that time, because if you think like before, it's like we had the 60s and the 50s, it was a lot more conservative, like on on a grander scale, maybe, in closer communities, it's a lot more, free. But like on a grander scale, and just like on the outside looking in, it was more of a conservative vibe. And when you get to the 70s, it's when the hippies come out. That's when the psychedelics come out, and I feel like when the psychedelics definitely hit the market, that's when the inspiration and opening the mind and the third eye came about, and just really diving into ultimate creativity. And so when I think about ultimate creativity, and wanting to embody that, I think of the 70s. And that's why the 70s is the inspiration for this deck. So, we came up with a mood board. We used Pinterest. We used Milano. We pulled from, the recording artists of the time, and like Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan is definitely like one of them, as well. And we started formulating how we wanted this deck to look. And of course, when you get inspiration from an era or something, it's not going to look exactly like it. So it's kind of like we are still shaping our own world of this tarot deck. And so what we decided to do this round, right? So mind you, last year was 2023. Now we're at 2020 freaking 6, okay? After we established Jupiter Juice, we gave Jupiter Juice a year. We saw how we could do. Our platform grew a lot. We went viral on TikTok many times. And, we still stuck it through. We're still here today. That's still my girl. Leah's my girl, okay? So it was a test for us to see if we could work together, if we could really build something, if we could actually build a foundation and a platform. And to be honest, it was rough. It was like, okay, trying to figure out like each other's schedule, and trying to figure out, okay, what do you want to talk about? How should we, present things, just dealing with the workload. I injured myself. I ruptured my Achilles. So I couldn't walk for 5 months. So that was a whole thing, and still me trying to show up, every week, even while being injured, in order to, help build this platform. And so we went through our things as like individually, I would say, trying to figure out like, okay, what do we want out of this? And, what do we want to provide? And I believe we definitely came to a common ground. And I look forward to being able to execute, a lot of the ideas that we have, especially the ideas that Lee has for Jupiter Juice. And yeah, so it's like, just seeing how this platform could come together, and the foundation we could build together. And so after the year passed, we realized, we went through all the motions, especially me, and just going through things and knowing that we could get through the motions and be here and build a solid platform with you guys. It's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. And so I feel like truly honored to go on this journey with Lee, because she's so talented and so beautiful, and she's so freaking smart. That girl is intelligent. Okay. I don't like being around dumb people, and thank God she's not. Okay. I am weird. Anyway, moving on. So we get to 2026. We're like, okay, I can't just DM people. I don't know people like that. People in general scare me. So I don't have a crazy amount of friends. So I'm like, we're going to do a casting call. We were scared. I was like, I don't know. Nobody's going to, reply. So got a Google form. Like, hey, boom, boom, boom. Casting call, Atlanta. You got to be black between 21 and 40. Let's get it. We didn't think nobody was really going to respond. We had over 104 submissions. I think, yeah, over 104. I think around 104 or 108. I can't remember the exact number, but it was over 100 submissions. And yeah, man, up through there. People wanted to be a part of it. We posted it on TikTok. It went crazy. Posted it on IG. It went crazy. People was like, yeah, I want to be a part of it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's when the overwhelm started. I'm like, I need an assistant, because I was editing the videos, the podcast, posting on TikTok, just trying to formulate things, building a foundation. And I'm like, man, this is a lot. And so I was like, dang, we need help, So we got some PAs, we got an assistant for a little while, just to help us like with the casting and things like that. And what we did was we sifted through all of these models, man. Sifted through all of them, and we reached out to about like 40. I think at the end of this round, I think we had about like 30 something models. Either right now we've shot half of them, and I think well, and then we have to shoot the rest. And we're about to open up casting. Well, actually, by the time this video comes out, casting is reopened. But we had to actually get serious this time, so we had to backtrack, send out contracts and NDAs and all these things to the previous models. Because when I first started this, I didn't have any of that. I didn't have no contracts or anything like that, or think about like, usage rights and copyright and all the things like that. And we have to protect the brand. We have to protect ourselves. And so that's something that we really needed to focus on was getting that secured. Now with that, this is where the hiccups come in. This is where the issues come in. So with that, reaching back out to old models, some of them didn't respond, or some did respond but never signed the contract and stuff like that. So we are gonna have to recreate two of the cards, 2 or 3 of the cards from the I ChatGPT to figure out what the fuck is going on with these contracts. It's like bulk. We're not choosing bulk signing.
I googled it and then it was too complicated and I got pissed off and exited out.
Yeah.
So
and so they suggested, because like do Google Forms, but basically they still have to sign it on their own, and then when they can upload it to Google Forms and it goes into our drive folder. And then that way old girl could see like who signed what. So we could either have them sign on their own. That's essentially what I had to do for that database I'm a part of. But I'm not promoting. I don't even care. And then either that or like there's like some other databases that offers like bulk signing, but I don't really want to pay for anything right now.
There has to be with this. I don't pay for this goddamn shit for no reason.
But it said Adobe didn't.
It doesn't provide it.
Not bulk.
That is so.
And so I think that's something important when you're building an empire, when you're building something like this, or we're, planning to release a creative project to the public that involves other people outside of yourself. You have to have your paperwork in order. And so we don't want to run into any issues down the line. So we're going to have to redesign those cars. That's just the name of the game. And so, when we got these models this time, we let them know the guidelines, like what they should expect from us. We talked about the use of their image, in the non-disclosure agreements and things like that. And, people sign. But the thing is, like, it takes a long time to get a crap ton of models to sign something and to respond, and then making sure they eat the flow of communication, and somebody may get something late or may respond late. So communication was definitely like the biggest obstacle through this whole process. I'm going to continue to be, people have different communication styles. It's just what it is. And, I would say out of both of us, I feel like I stress the most because I do like things to be boom, boom, boom. But everybody don't think like me. And that's okay. All right. So that was like really the biggest obstacle, But what I am grateful for, I'm still, regardless of it being an obstacle, I'm very grateful for the people that responded. I'm grateful for the people that, expressed interest. I'm grateful for my friends that showed up for me. I'm grateful for the new friends that I've gained, the new community that I've gained. I'm grateful just for everyone to help me and Lee out, and just to really help us bring this vision to life, because I do believe that it is something special. And I think it shows, it displays our expertise very well. We went through casting, went through all these things, and we had our first photo shoot. The first photo shoot for this year was with our friends, our beautiful, dear, dear, dear friends. And I really wanted I scheduled it that way is because I wanted the first photo shoot to feel a little bit easier, because I was nervous. I was very nervous. We were shooting out of Liquid Silver Studios in West Midtown with Raina. Raina is an amazing and beautiful artist, and her space is amazing. And so, worked out a situation with Raina to use Liquid Silver Studios, and we had to raise funds for that. But we were able to lock it in. We were able to lock 4 dates in, 4 photo shoot dates. And we already wrapped with our second one. And so, the first one, it flowed very well. We got our makeup artist, Alyssa, beating the beautiful faces. She is very quick, very amazing. And I trusted Alyssa with this project to provide the makeup because I worked with her on a previous project for a magazine, and I saw her work, and her work is immaculate. It's beautiful. And her work, the photography that I have in my portfolio has her makeup work, most of my photography. So I was like, when I made a post and said I'm looking for a makeup artist, she responded. I'm like, hell yeah, I ain't want to hear nobody else. I want to hear nobody else. Alyssa it is, and Alyssa has been showing up and showing out for me, and I truly appreciate her. And so we have her on the beat. And then as far as the crew that helped us, we have Caviar. Caviar is one of our production assistants, but she handles talent. That's what she does by trade. She's worked on many, many major projects, and for her to take the time out to lend a helping hand for us and, just meeting us is just amazing. I love Caviar, period. And then we also have our new production assistant, Kennedy. We just met her. She's been amazing. She worked with us on our second shoot. And she's just so attentive and so proactive and, just, I love her. And then we have my fiance. He is doing the BTS video. That's the video that you are seeing throughout this video. And I just truly appreciate it. Truly appreciate these individuals for, you don't realize the moving parts that needs people, and having these people really show up is really awesome. But I would say the first shoot was really cool, just figuring things out, figuring out the flow of things, and everybody jumping in and lending a helping hand was really cool. It's just fun. And having your friends witness what you're building and wanting to be a part of that is so special. So the second shoot was, interesting because I didn't know any of the models firsthand, and everyone was just so kind and so ready to go, just so, one of our models, Mars, she was like, look, I'm gonna do my own makeup. But then, Alyssa helped her finalize her look. And then we had one of our models, Slaughter. We didn't have a look for him. And he, I don't know, it must have got lost communication. I don't know what was going on, but he pulled something out of his car, came up with the sickest look ever, bro. The sickest look ever. Came through, pulled up, came through, looked fierce. Then we got Marche looking fierce with the Grace Jones inspiration. We have Yana.
I've been watching America's Next Top Model. Exactly. Feel free to do one more screen for the camera, but no pressure. Whenever it feels natural.
Can you do some also right?
Yana. I don't know what I can say. Yana's a hoot, man. Yana is one of the funniest people ever and freaking gorgeous. All right. Set that set on fire. Amazing. Lisa looked fierce. Okay. I mean, we just had so many just amazing models from this last shoot, and everything has just been flowing so smoothly. No hiccups. People showed up on time. People showed up ready to go. People showed up, just flexible, man. And I have to say, this whole thing has been an honor. An idea that came out of grief, that was birthed out of grief and longing for some sort of creation or connection or somewhere to funnel this grief and put it, it's turning into something so beautiful and amazing, and that people actually want to be a part of. So I'm nothing but grateful for this. And so this is really just like a breakdown of why this project is here, like why we're creating this tarot deck and the energy behind it. And it's also an inspiration to other people, especially people that look like me, that you can be creative, you can create something, you can. And anyone that's going through grief, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're going through grief, you can turn it into something beautiful. And it can be something that inspires other people, something that's long lasting, something that you can build a legacy on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm an 8th house girl. I got an 8th house stellium and I got a 2nd house stellium, and it's hard. It is really hard, and I had an issue with being vulnerable, and this project has truly helped me tap into my creativity, tap into artistry, and to transmute the grief and the pain that I've been through and just turn it into something beautiful. And one of my, I would say my mascot is a butterfly, blue morpho butterfly. And actually, the original idea for the tarot deck was based off of the life cycle of a butterfly. But it's like the butterfly is just this little thing, like, I'm a little caterpillar. And then they break down and melt and just collapse into themselves. But through that pain and that rough journey, they emerge as something majestic and beautiful as the butterfly. And that's what this project is. This is what this whole journey is about. It is about, existing, experiencing life, deconstructing, the tower falling, ripping apart, transforming, ego death, and emerging like a phoenix in the fire, emerging as a beautiful butterfly, It's just a beautiful experience, and I'm grateful to show up, show you all. And yeah, man. So this is episode 1 of creating a tarot deck with Jupiter Juice behind the scenes, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye.